Team, just getting up here on Instagram. This is going to be a first. We'll be doing two at once, so just bear with me. Get that set up. There we go. All right. Uh, so yeah, if you've seen the post this morning, today's topic for the team huddle is just going to be sleep and recovery. Um, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to post them up, leave some comments, send us a message, or if you're watching this after the fact, you can send us a DM, send us an email, universalsportsstrength at gmail.com. Be happy to chat, happy to get with you, and maybe even set up a call or video chat if need be. But as you can see, we're back in the office, back in the factory, and if it looks a little bit brighter, it's probably because it is. Picked up some new lighting for back here just to brighten things up a little bit and set a little bit better mood for the workout, especially doing a little bit more in the afternoons and the evenings, just to break up the monotony a bit and stay active. So. But yeah, so today's topic, sleep and recovery. Um, one of the biggest things that I've learned and really emphasized in the last, I'd say two and a half years, uh, was actually interesting. It shouldn't have been too surprising, but just the fact that some experts and some research these days say that sleep is the number one sleep or sports performance aid that there is on the market, and it's definitely. I think in a lot of cases it's the most underutilized. I think a lot of people think, well, I'm fit, I'm active, I'm young, whatever. I can get through it. I don't need as much, which is the exact opposite. Probably the more active you are, the more you need it. Not to say that the less active don't need it, but it's still just as much of an important role in the routine. So the biggest question around sleep, probably the first and most popular that always comes up is how much, right? Quantity. Tell me what I need to get. And I'll kind of 6 to 8 hours is always or 7 to 9 is probably a little more consistent in terms of what a lot of the experts, a lot of the research suggest or recommend. But the reality of it is it depends. It depends on you, depends on your situation, on the timing. I could have a twin brother. We could be playing the same sports, and both of our bodies operate a little bit differently. I know for me, kind of 7.5 hours is like a sweet spot. If I get that, man, I'm jumping out the gates and ready to go. Sometimes when I tend to get 8 hours, I'm a little bit more sluggish. It takes me a little bit longer to get going. I definitely feel kind of out of sorts a bit, but at least 7 hours, I know that I'm getting a good day's work, being very productive, able to get everything I need to, staying mentally fresh, and not trying to kill myself. Trying to get to bed too early or wake up too early in the morning. Um, but there's some folks out there that 6.5 hours is their sweet spot, right? There's others that, I mean, anything less than 8.5, and they're useless. They're zombies. So you gotta just kind of like with any exercise and the weights or any nutritional program that you're trying to work with. You gotta experiment. You gotta research a little bit. Be a self scientist, I guess is what some call it, and try it out. Try out a few different things and see what works best for you. Uh, the great thing or the most important thing about that is, especially if you're an active athlete, you're traveling, especially if you're going multiple time zones or internationally, something like that. That sleep pattern becomes all that much more important. So being able to stick with that routine and kind of stay within the norm becomes much more critical and definitely more impactful as you're making those transitions. But the other thing that around sleep that I always talk about is what's your pre-bedtime sleep, or sorry, pre-bedtime routine. Same way as so many of us I think we get caught up in the actual performance side of it, that you think about your pregame, you think about your pre-workout routine, that you often forget about the routine around recovery, around sleep. So, so always important to think about that. A lot of folks, it's probably easier to think about 30 hour or 30 minutes, not 30 hours, 30 minutes before bedtime. It's probably a little more manageable, but but if you can get up to an hour ahead of bedtime and start kind of formulating that routine, that schedule, so to speak, around that, I think that's definitely a good goal to aim for. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest that from day one. Kind of work back, build back to it. Start with 30 minutes and then work backwards from there. But being able to um, get in there and give yourself a solid bedtime routine. Uh, just like with your pre-workout pregame, right? You want to do that to make sure that you're primed and set for a solid performance. You want to have that solid bedtime routine to make sure that you're set up for a good sleep going into it. I know there's certainly been times to where maybe I feel under pressure, I forget about something, I'm on the computer right up until the moment I shut the lights off and go to bed, and then of course the wheels are spinning for who knows how long, 15, 20, 30 minutes, and it just feels like ages before I can actually fall asleep. But any you can get that routine in, it just allows you to kind of empty your mind, empty your thoughts a little bit, as some say, brain dump. You know, for a while, I used to keep a notepad right by the bed. Anytime I had those random thoughts, just write it down. Then I can see it first thing in the morning, and not have to worry about it anymore. But in terms of what you can fill within that hour, they say that 1 hour is probably the ideal time to get away from screen exposure, get away from your phones, your computers, TVs, whatever. So that's obviously a good time that you know go in, uh, clean the kitchen, put the dishes away, or whatever. Get your meals prepped. Make sure that you got breakfast laid out for first thing if you need to eat it then, or at least you know exactly what you're going for. Get that laid out. Get your lunch set aside, meal prepped for tomorrow. Make sure that's there and ready to go. And then and get your coffee set up, coffee or tea, whatever it is. Get that on the timer. Get your mugs out, whatever your favorite mug is. Make sure that's ready to go. And then kind of kitchen is done. Check it off the list. Then you can move into the bathroom. If you go ahead and take a shower in the evening, go ahead and do that. Brush your teeth, shave, whatever else you need to do for your regular bathroom routine. And then the bathroom is done. Check it off the list, and then move in. I always like to finish with the closet. Make sure that either the clothes are put away. Kind of take that time to fold the clothes if I had to do some laundry, or just make sure that we've got tomorrow's clothes laid out. So a lot of times I'll review the schedule. Hey, do I have any meetings, any discussions, something like that? Make sure that I get the appropriate clothes set out to make sure that I'm good to go for that. A lot of times I don't have to get dressed up, but the days that I do, I want to make sure that I've got everything set out that I need, and I'm not scrambling in the morning, kind of getting a little frantic or frazzled about what to wear that day. Check the weather ahead of time as well. Make sure that I get the right clothes, the right layers laid out, and then that's done. I lay it out in my spot of the bedroom, to where, all right, I know I got everything I need there, and then I'm good to go. And then once I get into bed, it's making sure that the alarm's set, making sure that the temperature's set. That's always a key thing, and always kind of a fun thing too. Whenever I go on trips, especially team trips, always going through and helping the athletes get the thermostats in their hotel room set to the right temp, which is anywhere from 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, is usually an ideal temperature. Yeah, if you're sitting around during the day just chilling or doing some work, yeah, it can get a little chilly. But I tell you what, I mean, it makes a huge difference. Even just a slight increase up to 70, 71 degrees, um, I've been in some situations where it's been a little uncomfortable at night. You're peeling back layers, you might get a little clammy, a little sweaty, but make sure that the temperature's set as well. And then lastly, make sure that the lighting is ideal as well. Make sure all the lights are shut off. I always like to, especially if it's travel, make sure that all the blinds are closed, um, as tight as possible. And they say it should be dark enough, or as so dark that you can. I think it's 6 to 8 inches in front of your face. You shouldn't be able to see your hand that dark. So I know a lot of times, especially in my home situation, and on some trips, some travel situations, it can be difficult to get the room that dark. But again, do the best you can. Um, if you have any other hall lights or something like that, make sure that you got some doors cracked, or doors shut enough to where it's not going to impede your sleep cycle as much. And then lastly, just um, and this is something that a lot of athletes don't think about, but I think about sleep posture and sleep position the same way that you do exercise. And I realize that a lot of us are probably more active, more dynamic sleep than others. Might do a little more tossing, turning, rolling, kicking, whatever. You can't control that, but you at least control the situation that you fall asleep in. So, so I always like to say, make sure that you're in a good. If you were going to stay in that position for the next 6, 7, 8 hours, you want to make sure that it's going to be a good position. Not that you're all twisted up, or your head's kind of turned or torqued too much. So if you are a side sleeper, make sure that you don't have too thick or too tall of a pillow that it's kind of putting a bend in your neck. Or that it's too low or too thin, that it actually gets your head inverted the other way. Or if you're a back sleeper, or sorry, for the side sleepers as well, make sure that you have your legs supported. I know a lot of athletes experience hip or lower back issues, and some of it can stem from the fact that if you're a side sleeper and your knees are kind of folded together, that it can put that top leg kind of in an awkward position, internal rotation to hip, or definitely an odd angle there. So sometimes it's always good just to take even a small pillow. A lot of times I like to use the throw pillows on the couches, just keep that between my knees. Or if I stagger my knees a little bit, just make sure that top leg is supported, and keeping my hips and my low back in a good steady position. If you're a back sleeper, sometimes it helps to just the full extension, just having your body fully extended out. That can kind of put your hips at a odd angle. So what some of the athletes have done there, if you ever get the kind of cylinder looking throw pillows that either go on the bed or on the couch, they look a bit like a foam roller, then you can slide one of those underneath your knee, or underneath your knees, and it's just going to help kind of put your hips in that anterior tilt just a little bit, keep them a little more neutral, take a little stress off your lower back. Again, if you're going to be in that position for an extended period of time. Of course, you wake up and the throw pillow is all over the place, but you can always kind of get back to that position pretty easily. And then in terms of waking up, on the backside of the night or backside of the sleep, the big thing is get up on the first alarm. Be careful not to hit snooze, because you feel like you're getting more sleep, but it's not the good quality sleep that you think you're trying to get. And get up on the first one. And actually, a few years ago, well, more than a few, but started setting a lot of times they say if your phone is your alarm, put it in the bathroom, put it in the office, put it in the closet, bedroom next door, whatever it is. Obviously, if you have roommates, you got to be mindful and respectful of that, but put it as far away from the bed as you can. And then that way, when you get up to go, you have to walk over and turn it off, and then you're up, you're done. And sometimes you can even, if it helps, something they call, a little life hack, or habit stacking. Put your phone right next to the clothes that you need to wear in the morning, whether it's your gym clothes or work clothes, whatever. And then that way you're right there. You switch off the alarm, bam, you're straight into your wardrobe for the day, and then into the rest of your routine, and then you're done. Um, a lot of times, what can work as well. You might be thinking about, well, I there's no way I have to get I have to get 5 hours of sleep. I've got to work late. We've got a trip, something like that. Don't extend the time that you wake up. Right? If you're not able to go to bed until midnight, and you typically go to bed at 10, don't think that you're going to sleep until 8, 9 o'clock to make up for that time. Make sure that you're getting up at the same time. Your body's gonna sink into that routine, that cycle a lot quicker. But the way that you can make it up is take yourself a midday nap, a midday snooze, something like that. Even just a 20-minute cycle, 20-minute sleep can help you kind of recuperate that lost time that you got the night before or 2 nights before, whatever it was. So those are some key things. Hopefully, those are some helpful tips. Again, if you have any questions on sleep or sleep routine, sleep pattern, feel free to post it up, send us a message again. Happy to chat about it. And I'll say, a lot of the athletes that I've spoken to and worked with around this have seen significant changes in a short amount of time just by making small adjustments. There was one athlete a couple of years ago that had these issues. Was on a travel experience, and first 3 4 nights, just after about the fourth night, said, hey, Goonan, like, struggling, man, struggling. I'm struggling to fall asleep. I'm not sleeping well, tossing, turning, waking up, numerous times throughout the night. So what we did was we flipped him over to grayscale on his phone, and what that does is even in those situations that you are looking at your screen closer to that bedtime, it's just going to reduce the amount of bright light and amount of blue light, as they call it, or the LED, and uh, it's going to allow the brain to kind of get into that rest and recovery mode a little bit. Um, so it'll be a little bit odd, but I'll use the phone. I'm on IG Live. If you're watching, or Facebook Live if you're watching on IG. But as you can see, the grayscale there, you can see the reflection in the background. But got the quick change over to the color. All right, if you can see that back. So I'm watching myself in black and white or grayscale on the phone right there. But yeah, it's been huge, and I've noticed a difference as well. I had a number of athletes that have had fewer headaches. Their eyes don't hurt as much. Their head doesn't hurt as much whenever they have that grayscale. Now, be honest, you might get a few funny comments, a few funny looks early on. People think you're living back in the 40s, black and white TVs and whatnot. But it makes a huge difference. Some of the studies, some of the other research and publications out there do say that you could end up spending less time, or you might notice spending less time on social media because pictures don't look as bright and colorful and attractive as they usually do. But that's not always a bad thing, right? I mean, spending 10 seconds on scrolling Instagram as opposed to 30 seconds or whatever, nothing wrong with that. So, and of course the photos, I'm sure, unless it's the storyline, photos will still be there whenever you come back to it. So, um, but yeah, those again some good tips or good ideas around sleep. The other part of it with the recovery is just staying consistent, and the biggest thing, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's compression pants or compression suits, ice baths, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that one's better than the other. There's a lot of research that shows both sides of that coin, but the biggest thing is just like with your workouts, just like with your nutrition, stay consistent for a longer period of time. You're going to be better in the long run. I know a lot of athletes, actually a few that I've been talking to, that saying that they're doing 4 5 6 days in a row of pretty intense workouts. Day one is going out on a long run. Day two is a 30 45 50 minute body weight circuit. It's just smashing them. Day three is another sprint or something like that, and day four is another body weight. And then they might save one day a week, if that, or they might do 20 minutes one night a week. as their quote unquote recovery. And I'll be honest. I mean, yeah, it's great that you're fitting some recovery in, but just not going to be enough. Especially if you're the highly active, highly engaged, and highly competitive athlete. You're putting your body through some pretty high intense stuff as it is. So you got to make sure that you're balancing out that recovery with all the performance as well. So again, sleep has it's of course highly debated, highly argued, but sleep can be one of the big recovery mechanisms to use and to stay in the routine. Outside of that, hydration and nutrition. There's some experts out there that say those three alone, sleep, hydration, nutrition, are the first three things. If you've got those three things on point, whatever else you're doing recovery wise is not even icing on the cake, it's a cherry on top. So get those three things in line and stay on point with that. Outside of that, it's really about just kind of assessing where you're at and what you need. I think the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that gets overlooked is flexibility and mobility. I mentioned earlier one athlete who spent maybe 20 minutes out of an entire week doing stretching. I would actually say, I mean, there's no reason you shouldn't be doing 20 minutes a day doing stretching. And don't think about where am I going to find 20 minutes throughout the day. Think about doing maybe 5 minutes 4 times throughout the day. Right? As soon as you wake up, you get your clothes on. Do a little. You're obviously going to wake up and kind of do your natural stretch, right? But I always think about like we talked about being in a good position. Think about, all right, well, if I'm a side sleeper or I'm a fetal position sleeper, then my knees and my hips have been flexed the whole time. So maybe hit your quads, hit your hamstrings, hit your hip flexors real quick. Just a short stretch. Another challenge that you can make, right, in terms of recovery is every time, especially now we're all stay at home, maybe pick a certain passage in the house. Every time you go through that passage, you're going to do a certain stretch. I know for me, I've got to walk through the same door and down the same hall to get to the kitchen. I've been, drinking drinking more than enough water the last couple of days. So every time I go through the door, hey, I'm just gonna give a little doorway stretch. Just prop the elbow up on the door frame, reaching through. Every time I pass through there, that's going to be my challenge to myself for the next week, right? Just got a small little half staircase to go down into the kitchen. So every time I go in or go down or go back up, going down, I'm just going to do a small hold, hit a hip flexor, and then of course on the way back up, I'm just going to get a little hold and get maybe 10 seconds on each calf, just to make sure that the ankles are staying mobile and I'm hitting some of those areas that I don't think about as much. And then maybe you can pick something else for another spot in the house. Maybe while you're waiting on the microwave, you're just gonna, just kind of do the old straddle and groin stretch or something like that. But again, those are some kind of fun and hopefully creative ways that you can mix in the recovery that you don't typically get. Otherwise, other recovery methods. Vitamin D, and say what you want or whatever you're comfortable with in terms of supplements. I'm not saying that you should or you shouldn't. Everybody's different, especially depending on what part of the country, what part of the world you live in, how close north south of the equator. But one of the things I've really enjoyed as well is the last couple of weeks while we are stay at home or shelter in place, I've been getting out and getting a few more walks in, and especially a day like today. Of course, I'm in the in the factory in the garage, but it is bright and sunny out there, a few clouds in the sky, and so I've definitely appreciated getting out and catching those extra rays in the middle of the day that I don't typically get, and a lot of that just because regular schedule I would be going right up until about 2-3 o'clock, and then I'd be packing up and getting ready for practice, but since I don't have that right now, than getting out and getting those extra walks. And it's just kind of it's been revitalizing, it's been energizing, and something I've definitely appreciated. So making sure that you're getting plenty of that. And then even just breathing. A good book that I read this morning, or sorry, heard recommended, was the Oxygen Advantage. That just talked about different breathing practices, or different breathing, wouldn't really say strategies, but routines that you can mix in, and the ways that the added benefits that you get. So one of the key things is nasal breathing will kind of trigger the parasympathetic, or the recovery, the rest and recovery kind of side of your central nervous system. And I tell you what, like anytime that I'm reading an email and getting a little frustrated, something like that, just taking 30 seconds and taking a couple of deep breaths in and out through the nose has been a game changer for me. There's one method, and I don't know if any of you have tried this. I'd love to hear your responses, hear your comments. There's a lot of folks, a lot of talk about taping your mouth while you're working out, whether it's lifting weights or going on a run, or I've even heard some folks doing this while they're sleeping, which obviously encourages nasal breathing. Forces your body to stay in that rest and digest, or parasympathetic mode for a little bit longer. And they've definitely seen some interesting responses, interesting results on using that kind of method. So if anybody's ever tried that, any of you have tried that, let me know. Again, I'm not suggesting it. I'm not recommending that you do it. Don't. But if it's something that you have tried, or something that you're considering trying, I'd love to reach out, have a conversation, kind of hear what your thoughts are, hear what you might be thinking with it. And I hadn't been brave enough to try it, but at times like this, who knows? I mean, maybe I'll start with a little 15-minute nap, see how it goes from there, because I think just I think a lot of anxiety would be built up with just having tape over your mouth when you're getting ready to sleep. But yeah, so that's it. That's pretty much it for today. I know it's a lot of talking, not as much action as what yesterday was, but sleep and recovery. Hopefully there's some tips or advice, ideas in there to think about, throw into your routine. If there is, great. Leave us a comment, let us know. If not, let us know that as well. Right? Hey, this is old stuff. You need to catch up on, and that of course will give me some motivation in terms of what to go looking for and what to read up on. But if you have any other questions about anything else that we discussed today, then again, DM, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email universalsportstrength@gmail.com, or DM us on DM me on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. More than happy to set up a chat, a phone call, video chat, Skype call, whatever it is, and help you out any way we can. But other than that, enjoy the sunshine if you got it where you're at. Give us some ideas on what we can do. We definitely not going to be every day, but we will kind of keep this going a little bit. It's a great exercise for me. Definitely kind of pushing me out of my comfort zone a little bit in terms of trying to be more creative and what to share, how to share it, those types of things. I'll try and come up with a few more action or activity shot for next week, just so there's a little more entertainment to look at. But otherwise, thanks to everybody for jumping on today for the live. And if you catch this after the fact, then leave us a comment, let us know what you think. But take care and have a great weekend.